Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and I can be reached at DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. Every week, we take a look at the real estate market nationwide and in Florida and in the villages specifically, and you can get some sense as to what's happening with the market here. Couple of things to note. First, all of this information is drawn from the multiple listing service, the MLS. It does not include any properties from the village's own internal listing service. For that reason, if you are interested in buying a property in the villages, you really should consult with two realtors, one who can show you MLS properties and one who can show you VLS properties. Without both realtors, you will not be able to see all the properties that are available for sale here. We try to mention things that we find interesting along the way, and every week there usually is something. Stay tuned. You never know if there'll be any new graphs. We try to introduce a new material all the time. And today we are going to start with something different. I'm going to demonstrate as to why you might want to consider using me as your realtor if you are considering moving to the Villages, Florida. Let me show you this tool that we've developed internally, and you can get some sense as to what information we can get from it. So let's assume that you're a buyer and you're considering the Villages, Florida. What you're looking at is a map that displays every active listing currently on the multiple listing service. You can see on the map, every listing is represented by a circle. The size of the circle represents the size of the home, and the color of the circle represents its price per square foot. So the lighter the circle, the more expensive per square foot, and the darker the circle, the less expensive per square foot. So a large dark circle would be a large house at a low price per square foot. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I've focused on the Lake Sumter area, and what you're looking at here is the same data. We're zoomed in. Once again, the size of the circle is the size of the property, and the color of the circle represents the price per square foot. These are all of the active listings in the map area. Here we're looking at the same area, but in this case, on the map, every dot represents a home that either sold or went pending over the last 180 days. Once again, the size of the dot represents the square footage, and the color of the dot represents the price per square foot. The lighter the color, the more expensive per square foot. Just to demonstrate, we can limit our search to only those homes that went pending over the last 180 days. A lot of these homes would move out of the category of pending into sold, obviously, but these might represent the most current data points. And you might wonder what this means in terms of what we can do with it for you, the buyer. What it means is that we can zoom in on any area of the map, any home that interests you, any area of the villages that interests you. We can take a look at homes that are available for sale. We can limit it by size, the year it was constructed, whether it has a pool. Basically, any data point that's been entered in MLS can be used as a filter. So, for example, you could look only at homes around the Lake Sumter area that are between 1,900 and 2,100 square feet that are priced between $250 and $270 a square foot. And you could see graphically on a map which properties met those criteria. Narrow your search down. You could compare it to properties of the same criteria, which had either gone pending or been purchased over the previous 6 months. It really is a tremendous market intelligence tool. And if you're interested in employing us as your buyer's agent or transaction agent, or you'd like us to research something for you, please reach out to us at DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. Be happy to discuss this further with you. So, with that out of the way, let's turn our attention now to this week's show. Here we take a look at interest rates. This is the yield on the government 10-year bond. Those of you who follow this channel know that this yield most closely tracks the mortgage rate. And we have stalled out for the last few days, but we are certainly at the high end of the range. The yield on the 10-year bond over the last 2 years has basically increased from 0.5% to 5%. I don't think the effects of that on asset markets, including real estate, have been fully felt yet. Here we turn our attention to the villages itself, and as always, we start with listings. Total listings this week, number 315, little change from the 311 of last week, but still up substantially from the 245 active listings of the same week a year ago. Prices for homes in the villages as of today range from 166,000 to just under $2.7 million. This is all listings. The median price per square foot this week is $262.85, down very slightly from the 263.61 of last week, but still down from the 269.85 that was in effect the same week a year ago. Keep in mind, all of the graphs represent smoothed 4-week averages, whereas the data points are the actual weekly numbers. Here we look at how long the listings have been on the market. This is the median time for all listings, 44 days currently, up slightly from the 41 days that was in effect last week, and almost the same as the 45 days of a year ago. Here we take a look at all of the listings broken down by price segment, and you can see how many homes were for sale in each price segment by week. This week, in the most active price segment, the $300,000 to $500,000 range, there are 195 homes for sale. And another look at listings. This is how many have been on the market for 100 days or longer. This week, 68 out of 315 listings meet that criteria. 22% of all listings, identical to the 22% of last week. This is a graph that's recently become interesting. It is the number of new listings and the number of homes that go pending. Once again, the graph represents 4-week averages, whereas the numbers you see are the actual data points. New listings this week numbered 30, up from the 27 of last week, compared to 25 a year ago. Homes that went pending numbered 34, compared to 33 a week ago, and compared to 25 a year ago. And this is the result of the improvement. The difference between new listings and homes going pending has been improving. Once again, positive numbers here represent more homes going pending than new listings, and negative numbers represent more new listings than homes going pending. So seeing this rebound is encouraging because it does suggest that supply is being snapped up by buyers. Here's a more in-depth look at all the new listings broken down by price segment. Once again, the most active price segment, the $300,000 to $500,000 range, has 18 new listings this week. So now we'll turn our attention to the homes that went pending over the last 7 days. Some might argue that this is the most recent data point, but what we're looking at here is the price per square foot at which these homes went pending. 248.53 last week compared to 261.86 the week before, and compared to 261.13 a year ago. Once again, the graph is a 4-week smoothed average. This is how long the homes that went pending last week were on the market before going pending. A median 24 days compared to 36 days for the homes that went pending the previous week. This compares to 18 days for the same period a year ago. This graph is another way of looking at the same data. It is how many homes are going pending within 7 days of being listed. Last week, 9 of the 34 homes that went pending met that criteria. 26%, more than a quarter of all homes, compared to only 15% for the week before. And more encouraging news, this is the price change from the original listing price for the homes that went pending over the last 7 days. They had a median price change from the original listing price of only a 4.6% reduction, compared to a 4.99% reduction the previous week, and only slightly worse than the 4.55% reduction that was in effect for the homes that went pending the same week last year. Now we'll take a look at the homes that sold and closed last week. They numbered 27 compared to 25 the week before, which was the same as the 25 of the same week a year ago. The homes that closed range in price from 176,000 to 605,000, and the graph is reflecting a 4-week moving average, but it certainly appears as if the number of sales is continuing to slow and has been for the last couple of months. Here we take a quick look at how the sales are being financed. The brown line is the total number of sales, blue is number of cash sales, and you can see that, as always, here in the villages, the number of cash sales seems to far outnumber any other financing type. Here we try to keep track of how significant the cash buyers are. This shows us the percentage of cash buyers continuing to climb. We only have monthly data through September, but we started getting weekly data after that. One wonders if the increasing percentage of cash buyers is reflecting strength or weakness in the market. Here's a more in-depth look at the properties that sold and closed last week, broken down by price segment. You can see that the most active price segment, the $300,000 to $500,000 range, saw 16 properties close. Here's the price per square foot realized on those properties closing last week. $251 a foot, the median price, compared to $241 the previous week. $251 is identical to the $251 that was in effect the same week last year. This shows us how long the homes that closed last week were on the market before going pending. 27 days the median time, compared to 20 days the week before, and compared to 25 days for the same week a year ago. Our last look at the homes that sold and closed last week. This is how many were taken off the market within 7 days of being listed. 10 of the 29 homes that closed last week met that criteria, 34%, significantly better than the 19% of the week prior. Here we take a look at all listings once again. This is an examination of how many of them have reduced their asking price from the original listing price. This week, 52.38% have, compared to 52.09% that had last week, and compared to 54.29% of sellers who had reduced their asking price the same week last year. And further good news, how much is the decrease? This is the median decrease for all listings currently on the MLS, 3.64% reduction compared to 4% reduction the prior week, and compared to a 5% median reduction for all listings the same week a year ago. So that concludes this week's look at the Villages real estate market. If you're interested in buying a home in the Villages and you're trying to find a good deal, a good property in a neighborhood that interests you at a good price, please reach out to me at DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. Similarly, if you are interested in selling your home and you're trying to do so in a reasonable period of time at a good price, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you, advise you in any way I can. Once again, DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you. Take care.